Welcome to Healthspan Digest. I hope you're ready for a little inspiration. In today's episode, I interviewed Gio Marin, who has a really inspiring story of his health transformation where he lost weight, gained strength, and really got a handle on his overall health and health span. Health span being the length of time within our lifespan that we are healthy, active, and vibrant. So take a listen. Hope
All
you
right.
enjoy.
Well, welcome. Today, we are going to talk about getting inspired to make change. I think this is going to hit home for those people who are looking to make a health change, lose weight, gain muscle, eat better, and really do things to extend your health span. This is going to include decisions that we make, habits that we get into, and as in all podcasts, we finish with one thing you can do today to extend your health span. My name is Aaron Shaw. I am from Healthspan Physio Coaching. I am your host, and I am joined today by my guest, Gio Marin, who has a personal journey to share, which will be inspiring for all of us. Not only is he a handsome, bearded, bald guy who is 51 years old, which is, in my opinion, reason enough to have him on the show. For purely selfish, I feel like I'm looking in the mirror, man. This is beautiful. He's also a dedicated fitness enthusiast. Yet another reason to be on the show. And he's wearing glasses now, just like, man, this is like trippy. He is a NASM certified personal trainer, and NASM is the National Academy of Sports Medicine. He is a nutrition coach, and he has his own health journey, which I'll share a little bit some of the details of. And Gio, you can kind of fill in the gaps here. So at one point, Gio's weight peaked out at 199.5 pounds, which I think is about a bag of chips away from 200 pounds, I think.
Yes.
And had a 35% body fat. Something changed where Gio decided to do something different with his health and now maintains, and tell me if this is still accurate, 173 pounds, 14% body fat. So the math says that's about a 60% loss of fat and over 25 pounds loss. So legit work. Something had to happen to achieve that. So he is in addition to his physique, he is a co-host of the Mindful Muscle podcast, where he shares his expertise and personal experiences to inspire others, which we're going to tap into a little bit today. So please give that podcast a listen. He's also a plant-based advocate for nutrition. He is writing a book on debunking the plant-based protein myths, which I am very interested in myself. And he's going to highlight the benefits. In this book, he'll be highlighting the benefits of plant foods for longevity and muscle building. His personal philosophy integrates spiritual, mental, and physical health, and that's his holistic approach to wellness. Gio, I am grateful for you sharing some of your time with us.
Thank you very much for having me, Aaron. It's going to be a blast.
So what I'm always interested in is hearing the moment before. Like there's some stories out with people losing weight, but I wonder if you feel comfortable rewinding a little bit, because I assume there was a moment in time where you were gaining weight. Perhaps like what changed, for the gain, and then we'll talk about kind of what changed when your lifestyle had to change to some extent.
Yeah, let me just add one thing before we dive into that. I got down as low as 149 and 12% body fat. Shows you that I've regained muscle now up to 173 at 14% body fat. Gaining that muscle
That's
always
great.
comes at a price of fat gain.
Yes.
But no, because I mentioned that because I want to highlight how drastic the change was, right? From 199 to 149. Now I'm at 173 because I built that up. Many times you see people who lose weight, but they don't, as somebody who I was speaking to, skinny doesn't mean healthy, right? Skinny
Yes.
doesn't necessarily mean healthy. I didn't want to look like a skeleton having lost all the weight. And so I wanted to make sure I did it with muscle mass. Answering your question, I've always been an athlete, pitcher, shortstop when I was in pitching, point guard, quarterback. And I was relatively thin and healthy all my life. However, my wife and I had a trouble conceiving. Long story short, turns out she had celiac disease. And the reason I mentioned that is she started eating extra food to make sure she had all the nutrients for the baby. But people with celiac disease tend to have higher rates of miscarriage second trimester versus first trimester. So when she started eating, I started eating. and
Mm-hmm.
I was over consuming food and worrying about a new house, a new baby, a delicate pregnancy. I stopped golfing. I stopped exercising. I wasn't as active. And even though my internal numbers were good, my cholesterol never creeped above 130, 140, I think it was the max it ever got. You can still gain weight eating vegetables. If you overconsume calories in vegetables and rice and beans, you still can gain the weight. Your internal numbers may be fine, but the body's got to do something with the energy. And so I kept climbing, climbing. Then we had our second child. And, once you deal with one delicate pregnancy, you think all of them are going to be the same. And so that kind of pattern continued under the stress until one day I realized I look in the mirror and I wore my weight well, though. That being said, a lot of people, when I tell them my numbers, they're like, I never perceived you to be that fat. Well, I did a DEXA scan and most of my weight was carried like on the side of my body. So you look at me front and from behind, you don't look too bad. But from the
Uh-huh.
sides, right, I was 35% plus uh, body fat measured by a DEXA scan. And that kind of got me thinking. But the thing that really tipped me over the edge, I was at the pool, community pool in our neighborhood, and there was a man who was a little older than I am. I'm 51, by the way. So I was maybe like 47 years old. And he may have been 50, and he looked great. And I looked at his physique, I looked down at my physique, and for a split second, I felt pity for myself. And then I remember quickly snapping out of that, saying to myself, no way, Gio, this is not who you are. You take responsibility for your actions. That began the journey to make sure I changed and changed not only my mindset, but my physique and getting back into physical fitness.
Could you to take that snapshot of not only like the weight and percent body fat, but can you talk about how it feels different, or do you feel different? Do you feel different, like
Oh,
literally energy
yes.
wise or activity
Yes,
wise,
yes.
then versus now?
You know, I was always mentally tough. Like if we said we were going to go 10 miles, then I was going to make sure I went 1 mile more than you. But I never
Mm-hmm.
noticed that with the extra weight, I'm having to work harder at doing that. I'm having to expend more energy. The recovery takes longer with that. So mentally, I was still there pushing myself, being athletic. I still played basketball with younger people and did well. But I would love to have captured that in a feeling to compared to now. Now I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life, even when I was an athlete in my 20s and 30s, because now the things I'm doing to stay fit are intentional. Not only are they intentional, they are they are structured, right? I have a game plan. I know what I'm doing. I'm mentally putting in not only the mental work behind it, because when you're younger in your 20s and 30s, you just stay active and you stay in shape for the most part. Now, as we get older, you have to be intentional because not only am I navigating my own health, I'm navigating being a husband, a father, being a friend, right? A
Mm-hmm.
son to my aging parents. And so there's so much more you have to juggle. I like to say, and I saw it in a meme, but I like repeating it myself. Don't tell me to get in shape if you're a 20-year-old still living at home with no responsibilities. Show me a
Yeah,
mother or a father who has to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, juggle a job, kids, other responsibilities, and still stays in shape. That's who I want to hear from.
that's
Because as
that's
we get
legit.
older, it gets tougher. So, yes, the difference is amazing. And not only physically, but mentally. When you are in shape, you have more mental clarity. and
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately, to me, the main reason I work out is for mental clarity, your frontal lobe. You make better decisions all around, and I'm a spiritual person, so even spiritual wise, you connect with the almighty. And so no one likes to worship, I say, if you got an upset stomach or you're feeling sick. And so yes,
Right.
the difference
Uh-huh.
has been great.
So that's interesting. So now you're that guy by the pool. Somebody's looking at you now, right?
Yes, it's
So,
funny. I tell you
so,
something. I'm a minister by trade. And so I was we were having outdoor services. And so, yeah, it's a shorter sermon because I live in Texas and everything's hot here. But I remember I wasn't, normally I wear a suit and tie, but it's outdoor services. So I'm in a nice form fitted shirt and some slacks.
Mhm.
And I had a church member come up to me afterwards and they were like, "Are you on steroids?" And I assured her, no, I was not. But it was like the ultimate compliment. And I'm not a big guy. You know, the physique I look for, I call it the James Bond physique, right?
Mhm.
In a suit, I look nice and trim, right? Not
Mhm.
overweight, not over muscular. However, when I take off the shirt at the pool or when I'm wearing a more form fitted shirt, people can tell that I work out.
You
I'm
work
not
out.
big. I'm
Right.
looking for that jink.
Mhm.
Yeah, they know I work out.
So, as a 51-year-old married, busy person, it sounds like your transformation was, would you say, volume of food more than the types of food?
There was a combination of both, but that's a great question. For me, though, it was mainly the volume of food. And
Okay.
the first time, right, I decided my mother in law, she was a retired nutritionist. And so she saw my plate. It's healthy food. So she wasn't harping on me, but she kept hinting once I told her I wanted to change that you may be eating too much. So the first time I put a cup of rice and a cup of beans on my plate, I said to myself, I'm going to starve. Like it all looks so small. But by the time you add the salad and you finish with a dessert, maybe some bread to
Mhm.
accompany it, I
Some
said to myself,
hydration.
wait a minute. Yeah, I feel fine. Let's see how I feel, going on to the next meal. And I would never get to the next meal overtly hungry. I could feel a tinge, but it let me know, yes, I'm
Mhm.
ready for my next meal. So, yes, for me, it was mainly volume. That being said, though, because it was mainly volume, I started concentrating on what I call my calorie dollars, right? I have an allotment of calories and I look at them as money. So, where do I want to spend my money? And so 28 grams of Tostitos is about 180 calories, and it's not that many chips. And you eat that, and you're feeling hungry in like 2 seconds. So
Mhm.
that made me begin to change what I spend my calorie dollars on. And so I found myself eating more fruits. Buy fruit. You get a quick punch of energy, right? All that
Mhm.
sugar, good sugar, because I'm not against sugar, good sugar. I'm against
Mhm.
added sugar. But you also get fiber. So, fiber, combine that with vegetable fibers and other fibers in like grains, give you satiation, right? And so,
Mhm.
between getting more fiber and making sure I was getting more than enough protein, I never felt overtly hungry. And it finally got to the point when I was feeling right a little hunger right before bedtime especially when I was losing the weight because I was doing intermittent fasting. My
Mhm.
last meal would just be a protein shake. I began to take that hunger sensation and make it a positive notion, which was, hey, I'm losing body fat, right? That sensation of hunger was just a reminder that I'm losing body fat. So that made the mental aspect of a weight loss journey more tolerable because I knew one thing, that this weight loss journey wasn't going to be forever. And that what I'm eating isn't a diet, it's just calorie restriction. Because now
Mhm.
I eat the same things, but just have maintenance calories.
That's interesting. I think the challenge that many people face is that sensation, which is
Mm-hmm.
atypical if you've been eating until you're full,
Yes.
which is arguably often overfull, that
Mm-hmm.
there's a challenging moment where you start to feel a little rumble in your stomach, perhaps, or a little something going on, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out a way to reframe that as versus, oh my gosh, I'm starving to death. I can't, like, I'm never going to make this. If you can
Yeah.
put in that intentional acknowledgement that actually, given my goals, this is a little bit of success. It's not
Mm-hmm.
a bad thing, actually. It's like a gold star. But it sounds like it's easier said than done.
Yeah, and that's why I said I had to turn it into a positive. That slight hunger feeling, like I said, it was never overt hunger, like I'm starving, I hate this, I'm never going to do this again.
Right.
No, just that slight hunger was a reminder, hey, you're losing the body fat. Because I was
Mhm.
resistance training, and let me add to that. Before I began resistance training, I was walking about 3 miles after every meal. Work from home, so that
Wow.
allows me to do that, and I was losing weight, but not at the speed I wanted to. And I didn't like the body composition. Once again, one thing that I wanted to avoid was not only overt hungerness, but looking frail, right? If you're going to lose weight and look frail, that's not healthy either. And so
No.
it wasn't until, and everybody's different, but it wasn't until I started lifting weights that the weight began to come off more rapidly. And I liked the changes, the body composition changes. And so I tell everybody, if you had to choose one, right? Not that you have to, but if you had to choose one, cardio or resistance training, go with resistance training. I do both every day.
100%.
And my
Hmm.
preferred cardio is walking. I walk about 2.5 miles every day. And I average above 10,000 steps per day. So over 70 per week, between 70 and 100,000. I just enjoy it. I live in the forest, so you get to see animals, wildlife, the noise. It's good for my mental clarity. I do a lot of thinking when I walk. But on the days where life is busy, as many of us who are husbands, fathers, adults paying bills, if I had to choose one, I'm going to hit the weights and skip the walking.
100%. Yeah, I talk to my clients about how, yeah, step one is, you know, don't continue to feed a body that it's kind of like having a fuel tank that's already overflowing. Don't keep pumping
Mm-hmm.
more, more fuel into something
Yeah.
that's already overflowing, and so your body's storing this energy. And certainly, you can, cut down on the calorie intake so you're not, overflowing it quite so much. But looking at it from the different perspective is, how do we burn what we've got? We've already got all the storage, and
Mm-hmm.
you in a sense you can walk it off, with a combination of
Yeah.
cardio and calorie restriction. Man, muscles, you're sitting at your desk and you're literally cooking. I mean, muscles take energy, and so they're always
Yes.
looking for, like,
Mm-hmm.
where's a good fuel source, right? And so the benefit of proper strength training, and I would agree that if you can only do one of the things,
Mm-hmm.
get build this muscular system that is going to just start, begging for calories when you're sitting down watching TV at the end of the night, when you're sleeping, when you're
Yes.
sitting at your desk. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely the way to go. So
Yeah. Let me jump in there real quick.
mm,
I I love to eat. So the maintenance calories I eat, and when I go on a mini cut, that takes discipline. But it's not because I hate food. I enjoy to eat. So my goal really is to get to 180 pounds, which is I'm 173, so I have 7 more pounds to go, but of lean mass, right? Muscle mass. So that's going to take some time, and be at 10% body fat. Why? So people are asking, why those numbers? Because at 180 at 10% body fat, my maintenance calories would be around 3,000 calories. And that's like my goal, to be able to eat 3,000 calories at maintenance. I would love that, because right now my maintenance is around 2,600. And so I love to eat. So it's not. And so people who are listening to Aaron's show here, uh, if you enjoy food, pack on that muscle, because the more muscle you have, the more you can consume, and you'll feel healthier. You can eat more. You'll look better, and you would have gained the mental and internal fortitude to know that you can achieve something. And so, yes, pack on that muscle. Good point, Aaron.
yeah, I think, and the other, I think there's a misconception just to put out there as well, is that some people feel that if they lift weights, they're going to be bulky. And
I wish I had that
and I
trouble.
often hear this more with females who feel like they don't want to bulk up, and to exactly what I'm saying. Like, I think it's if you're not accustomed to, you know, people in the gym, or you think of somebody who's lifting weights and muscles, I think it's not a stretch for somebody to think about Arnold Schwarzenegger or some massive bodybuilder
Mm-hmm.
person and realize that, well, one, there's a natural and unnatural way to gain muscle, but
Yes.
also people who are very muscular have to put in a ton of time, a ton of
Mm-hmm.
effort. And as you're dealing with now, if you're going to gain muscle, you need to have a calorie surplus as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you will not just to share with the audience, you will not start lifting weights and then suddenly wake up and have massive muscles. If you do, please let me know what the
Mm-hmm.
secret is, because that's not what happens.
Yes.
Um, so
Mm-hmm.
tell me about, what is your routine now? Like, how do you maintain both, the cardio and strength training and all the other things you have going on?
Yeah, so let's start with the exercise portion. I wake up around, I'm naturally a night person. For full disclosure, if it was up to me, I'd burn the candle at both ends, right? I'd go to bed around 1 o'clock and then try to wake up early to make up for the stupidity of staying up late. But I've taught myself to be disciplined, so I go to bed anywhere between 9 and 10, most of the time closer to 9 o'clock. Then I'm up by 5:30. I have what I call personal time, personal devotional time, kind of plan my day. But then I'm in the gym by 6 o'clock, 6:10, 6:30 maybe. And I am on a push leg pull routine. Most people know it as push pull leg, but I split it up. I do push, leg, pull, then push, leg, pull, because I don't want 2 days of upper body back to back. Normally, right, it's push, pull, leg. So I like splitting up. So I only have one day of back to back upper body days. And then I rest on Saturdays. And something I'm very proud of, because a lot of people, my co host, gets this statement more than I do. But the statement of, oh, you lucky you get to work out. My co host, Jody Dolo, wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because she wants to be in the gym in time to then come home to cook her kids breakfast and get them on the school bus. Now, I don't have that. Me and my wife, we homeschool our children, but I'm up early to work out because I know that's going to be the hardest aspect of my day, hitting the gym. Then the rest, right? It's downhill. So I'm up, I
Yep.
work out. Now, I would say 85% of the time I work out fasted. Just it's convenient. Sometimes though, if I know I'm going to go for a PR or something, I'll have just a small 8 ounces of grape juice with some creatine and maybe like 10 to 20 grams of protein. Shake it up, drink it. The protein kind of helps smooth out the energy spike. Then
Mhm.
grape juice, by the way, is one of the highest carbohydrate juice. And so,
Right.
you get that quick boost of energy. So
Mhm.
then after I work out, I'm usually eating breakfast by 8 a.m. And I have a huge breakfast, plant based breakfast. I average anywhere between 50 to 70 grams of protein just for breakfast. And because I scale the way I like to eat, I scale it. My biggest meal is breakfast, taper it down for lunch, and then taper it down for dinner. I don't like going to bed with a heavy stomach, but I do average anywhere between 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal when you average it out, right? And so,
Mhm.
and here's a trick for people who want to get more steps. I work out from home, and we'll talk about that here in a bit, but during sets, I'm walking on my treadmill. And so instead of resting after a set, sitting down on the bench or laying on the floor, just standing up, I actually get on the treadmill for my rest time. And so usually by the time I'm done with a workout, I could have anywhere between 4 to 7,000 steps already, because my
First thing in the
workouts
morning.
last anywhere. Yeah, my workouts last anywhere between an hour and 15 to an hour and 45 minutes. And so in that rest time, right? Because think about it, when you're doing bench, even if you're doing 10 reps, your rest time is longer than your bench time,
For
right? In
sure.
that particular set. And so I'm getting all those steps. And so that has allowed me to really up my step game. And then I still take that 2.5 mile walk later on in the day. So that's my workout routine.
And you feel like your energy stays pretty balanced throughout the day for like getting an early start like
Yes.
that?
Yes. First of all, I think the nutrition aspect. And I like to say this: just because I'm 100% plant based, I'm not one of those people who says you can't eat meat. Right? That's why I don't identify as vegans. To my vegan zealots, I'm not that. I have leather in my car. I have leather shoes. I got leather belts. Uh, but I tell my meat eaters, make sure you're getting your fiber, right? Because meat doesn't have fiber. And if you read the studies, fiber is all the craze now. The more fiber you get, the longer lifespan you have. There's that correlation. But the beauty about fiber, right, whether you're a meat eater or a plant based eater, is that it steadies your energy level, your glucose, right? It kind of
Mhm.
helps you stay, instead of a hard spike, kind of evens it out. Especially a walk after you eat, too, helps that as well. And so I find, because of all the fiber I consume, just to give you, the average female is recommended 25 grams of fiber. The average male, 38 grams of fiber. The average American gets about 9 grams of fiber.
Yeah.
I average anywhere between 70 to 90 grams of fiber. And so I
Wow.
find that it keeps me satiated and it keeps my energy
Mhm.
very level throughout the day, which is why I think I can work out fasted and go hard, or even with a little, because that grape juice combination I told you is about 150 to 200 calories. With that little,
It's quick sugar.
because the fiber keeps me pretty level throughout the day. So I love it. If I miss out a workout in the morning, I'm feeling grumpy. But that's mental, not energy wise.
For sure. I think there's a everybody's different, but I think there is a once you can figure out that both starting an exercise routine for anybody who's trying to get on the ball, trying to get going. Initially, you may be aware that you're kind of pooped out. You're
Mm-hmm.
maybe tapping into energy stores and burning more calories and putting in more effort than you're accustomed to. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
unusual to feel a little groggy, perhaps, which isn't a bad thing. But I think over
Mm-hmm.
time, and especially if you're working with a coach, you can help kind of fine tune when is it okay to be a little bit tired, make sure you're getting rest and recovery. But the sweet
Mm-hmm.
spot is when you're saying, Gio, like the sweet spot is like once you find kind of your cadence, like I know this is
Yes.
this is the right thing at the right time. This is a my ballpark. 'Cause I don't count calories or I mean I've done that before, and I'm taking a nutrition
Mm-hmm.
course right now, which part of the course
Okay.
is assessing your own food intake on
Yeah.
whatever the section is. But once you get that dialed, you know, I know you can nudge your weight, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
without weighing what you're putting in, on your plate. It's like I know
Mm-hmm.
just by how I feel, by the volume of it, by what my exercise is. I know that I'm trending towards more. I'm gaining more muscle, or maybe I'm
Mm-hmm.
overeating, or maybe I'm kind of groggy. And if I'm kind of groggy, I think, yeah, I did a big ride the other day, or I did a lot of cardio yesterday, or I did a big lift a couple days ago, and I didn't quite recover, didn't refuel my
Mm-hmm.
stores. But that's when nerds like you and I can kind of use ourselves as
Yeah. Geek
exhibit A
out.
and kind of like
Yeah.
explore, explore because there's an art, there's tons of science, and the science is very complicated, always evolving, and everybody's a little bit different. And so that's why it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to and impossible, despite some claims, there is no one diet that fits everybody.
Mm-mm.
Everybody's a little bit different, and part of the
Mm-mm.
challenge, and if you look at it, and you've already talked about kind of the mental perspective, if you can look at yourself as, hey, this is going to be a journey, I'm going to learn some things about myself and nutrition and energy and strength and weight and everything else, cholesterol, all those health markers, then
Mm-hmm.
you can embrace what is sometimes a roller coaster and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
challenging when especially to go back to you have a sensation of hunger. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people have trouble in that's identified
Yes.
as bad. And certainly I think if
Mm-hmm.
you overdo it, which is my concern with people who do a crash diet and suddenly start,
Mm-hmm.
dramatically cutting calories and dramatically, in addition to that, eating foods that they're just not accustomed to doing. You're basically stacking up a whole bunch of things that are a little bit too much to overcome at one point, or too much to adapt to
Mm-hmm.
at
Mm-hmm.
one shot.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here, my daughter just turned 9 yesterday. And so we
Cool.
celebrated her birthday Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday, we went to an outing, pool with some friends. Wednesday, the actual day, we just stayed quietly at home. And I ate about 100 calories worth of cheesecake,
Heck yeah,
plant based
dude.
cheesecake. Yeah, but why? I don't feel guilty about that. Why? Because one, I kept it under my calories for the day. So I had a real light dinner,
Mhm.
right? And so because I knew I
Mhm.
spent 600 calories on just cheesecake, I did have a protein shake, to get the protein, but then all I had was popcorn and applesauce, right? And that was it. And I felt fine. And the day before, I ate a whole pizza box, the whole thing by myself. Once again, I didn't feel
Mhm.
guilty because I know that it's not about restriction. It's about being accountable and responsible to what you're doing. So I'm not going to be a grouch on my daughter's birthday. I'm going to celebrate with everybody, but I know the rest of the year I'm very disciplined. And,
Mhm.
so that's why I don't look at it as cheat meal. Another thing that my friends know is that every Saturday I have anywhere between 400 to 1200 calories of ice cream, but I keep it under the budget. Am I
Uh-huh.
sacrificing some hunger to enjoy the ice cream with my daughters and all that? Yes, but it's intentional. And that's what I tell people. You want to eat that hamburger with all that cheese and extra mustard? That's fine. Just be intentional about it. Be
Mhm.
intentional about it. Know that, okay, you paid that extra money for that luxury in calorie dollars, right? Then you're going to
Right.
have to take it out of somewhere. Otherwise, it's going to cost you on the love handles, right? And as long as you know that and you're willing to pay that price, have at it. Have at it.
Yep. Yeah, no, I'm the same way. Like I'm an advocate of. I don't believe in the whole cheating and not cheating sort of thing because I
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
I can put away a pizza no problem. Enjoy cheesecake as well. But what I tell people is, be mindful about it. Realize that
Mm-hmm.
you can call it a celebration, a special occasion. Your
Mm-hmm.
metabolism doesn't really care. It's either going to like
Yeah.
utilize it as fuel or store it as fuel. Hard stop.
Mm-hmm.
So plan ahead, as you're just talked about, adjusting your diet. And then if you are going to
Mm-hmm.
have cheesecake or pizza, make sure it is so good that it is so
That it was
worth it.
worth.
Yeah, that is, I mean, don't stop by a 7-Eleven and be like, I'm going to have my cheat calories by picking out some hot dog that's been rolling for 4 weeks. It's like, make it
Yeah.
high
Mercy.
value, make it a special occasion, be present with your
Mm-hmm.
family, holidays, weekends, like whatever it happens to be, and then embrace it. And that's totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're
Yep.
done,
Yeah.
follow through back with, back on the 99% part of your life, which is should be
Yeah.
sustainable, feel good, feel confident, feel energetic. Yeah, 100%. I believe that. That's
Yeah.
kudos for the ice cream
two
intake.
points two points that came to my mind as you were speaking. Excellent points you made. Is one, people always tell me, look, I'm not a professional athlete in the sense of, right, I don't play in a professional league or anything, so I'm proud of a streak that I have. It's 138 consecutive weeks of working out 6 days a week. Right, I'm proud of that
Dang.
streak. I never set out to do that streak. It just happened. Then one day I said, "Oh, let me keep it." Right. So now I'm
Right.
intentional about keeping it. But people ask me, "Why do you work out so consistently?" Well, because I want to race my grandkids at 90. Right. I
Yep.
want
Mm-hmm.
them. There's a phrase I heard in a little video that said, I'm a grandfather now, and many of my friends are having trouble keeping up with their grandkids. My grandkids are having trouble keeping up with me. And that's like so
Yes.
motivating, right? I want
Mm-hmm.
to be vibrant. So what am I preparing for? I'm preparing for life. I want to,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get crude here, but I want to be able to get off the toilet seat by myself independently and not need
Mm-hmm.
anybody. So I'm preparing for life. And that's why I don't look at this. That's why I don't like the diet culture, because you need to eat in a way that is sustainable for life. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, you may have to calorie restrict, but I didn't have to change too much the basic foods I was eating. It's just calorie restriction. When I started getting all my maintenance calories back, I just kept eating the way I kept eating. Another thing is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we look at, oh, I'm only allowed to eat 2,000 calories. I'm taking the generic 2,000 calories, right? I can only
Right.
eat 2,000 calories per day. Well, I don't do it that way. I look at it as week. I have, if you're doing the generic 2,000 calories per day, I have 14,000 calories for the week. So if I ate 3,000 because it's my daughter's birthday, okay, I'll make it up
Hmm.
other parts of the week. And that has really freed up my mind to know, hey, I can enjoy today,
Yeah, bigger
and then
picture,
pay the
bigger
piper
picture.
later. But even if I don't pay the piper later, one day of overeating is not going to put me at 35% body fat. Right. And
No.
that's another myth that if you overindulge one day, you're a bad person. No, just get back on the train and keep going.
Yep. 100%. 100%. These are great stories, and your
Mm-hmm.
a couple points I just want to kind of reinforce is change takes a little bit of time. You
Mm-hmm.
may have some new sensations for some people who are
Mm-hmm.
perhaps trying to lose weight, but I really love the idea of big picture, because I think calorie counting,
Mm-hmm.
whenever people think about, wanting to lose weight, it's immediate, it's aggressive, it's overwhelming,
Yes.
and I think it's easy for people to kind of get derailed far prematurely, just because,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to air quote, they failed today or 2 days in a row, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
having a wider lens. um,
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean, we like to count in 24-hour cycles, but if when you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about wanting to be 90 years old and having your grandkids try to keep up with you, you can widen the lens a little bit, and that may include
Yes.
cheesecake and some ice
Yes.
cream on occasion, as long as more
Mm-hmm.
often than not you're on point, you're doing the right thing.
Yep.
And with that, I think that there's this will be a deep topic for another day, but I think that, having a detailed future vision of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and so for me, I always talk about, I'm accountable to the 90-year-old Aaron. That's who I'm
Yeah.
answering to today. Like, I'm making
Mm-hmm.
decisions
Yes.
today
Mm-hmm.
that when I look back, I'm not going to remember the cheesecake.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
May remember fun times with the family, but if I'm
Mm-hmm.
regretting, like, oh man, I wish I had kind of tightened up my nutrition or my fitness, there is a point where it can be too late. And I
Yes.
think
Mm-hmm.
if today you could just sort of think of the future you, I want the future Aaron to look back and say, man, I'm really glad you know, push through some challenging times and enjoy some cheesecake
Mm-hmm.
on occasion, but you were
Yeah.
on point most of the time. I mean, that's the biggest point, I think. So if we had to
Mm-hmm.
give some encouragement, so would be like, what is one thing you would tell the Healthspan Digest audience? What would you suggest
Mm-hmm.
that they could do that may help extend their health span?
It's funny you mentioned what you mentioned because about your 90-year-old Aaron. Mine is kind of similar, but more for today, right? In the sense that if something that I've been telling people, clients, and friends, here in the recent past is write down who you want to be ideally physically. Write it down in detail and then
Mm-hmm.
stare at it every day. And then match what you wrote down to the decisions you're making throughout the day and see if there's any incongruency. Just write it down. It doesn't have to be, a lot. It could just be bullet points. But for example, if I was doing it for my 35 plus body fat self, I would put it. I remember the first goal I put was I want to be under 20% body fat, then under 15, and then stay under 15 for life. Now, my ultimate goal now is 180, 10%, but I'm in it for the long haul. So I'm not like trying to get it done tomorrow. And so
Right.
write down and stare at it. So for the physical goals was to eventually to get under 150, 15% body fat, to be slim and trim and be a person, right? Just speaking for me, that makes James Bond look proud, right? Because
Nice. Uh-huh.
that's how I call the look, right? The James Bond look,
Uh-huh.
where I look fine. I give you another story that really, lets me know that I'm headed in the right direction. I was speaking one time in my church, so I'm in a suit and tie, and my favorite suit. It's a black suit. My favorite color is black. So after service, a man came up to me and he says, I know you work out. I could see the definition in your lats and in your arms as you speak. Bro, that made my day. Even to this day,
I
I could
bet.
I could still
Right.
see his face saying it to me, and I could still feel that sensation I felt when he said, because I'm in a suit and tie. And
You're
because
hidden.
I'm one of those speakers that I move my hands, as you could tell. I don't stay right behind the pulpit. I walk back and forth, and and I turn around to the screen, and you can see the lats. And so, bro, that blew my. And so that lets me know I'm in the right direction, and it's for the long haul. I'm training for life. So, to
Mhm.
sum up what I just said, write down what your ideal self looks like and stare at it every day and make the changes you have to make. Because, as I say, it's you versus you. Aaron is not going to be there in those quiet moments when you're looking at your physique and wondering why you haven't made the change. I'm not going to be there. No one's going to be there. The only person that's going to be there is you versus you.
Love it. It really makes yourself the first accountability partner because
Mm-hmm.
then I think it's yeah, it's on you. Excellent
Yeah.
advice, Gio Marin, Mindful Muscle Podcast. Check it out. Great inspirational episodes on there. I am grateful for you sharing your time with me and my Healthspan Digest family. And I will share all of your contact information in the show notes so all listeners
Thank
can
you.
kind of find you on both podcast and on socials. I've been
Mm-hmm.
consuming a lot of your Instagram posts as of late, which are always inspiring. So keep doing that.
Thank you.
And thanks again for coming on. Appreciate your time.
No problem. And Aaron, we'll love to have you on our show as well. We'll make that happen.
Awesome. All right. We'll talk to you soon.